Hello, hello, hello. Happy Tuesday, everyone. How is everyone doing this morning? Yep, I had camera issues earlier. I was all fuzzy, but now it looks to be good. Let me know if there's any other problems, please, in the chat. Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Sterling. I was wondering what happened to you yesterday, Sterling, but who? They didn't coordinate it with me, Sterling. Just give them my number. I'll tell them when the live streams are, 8:30. You don't want an 8:30 meeting on Monday anyways. Mondays, you know what? Don't schedule early morning meetings. Hey, all right, more zombie firms. Let's see. Good morning, Tony. Good morning. I now have a funded account. Progress hath been made. Well, congratulations, Legion Reaver. Oh boy. So yeah, everybody give a big shout out to Legion. There we go. It's always a nice thing to see. Heinrich, good morning. Good morning, Anissa. Good morning, Royal Palms. What else? Yeah, crude. Let's see if we hit the last boy, the last target down area. What else? What else do we have? We had Redbook coming out this morning. We dropped from previous, still at 3%. Numbers today. Numbers today. We're looking at 15 minutes after the cash open. We got the S&P Global Composite and Services, and then the more important one, the ISM services, are at 9. So watch for 9's jolts. People might still react to. Watch for jolts, openings, and job quits. So 9 a.m. is going to be the key time, and you have also watch for ISM service prices and services employment. Those are the biggest thing in the subset that you'll want to watch. After that, not much, not much. So that's pretty much it for today in terms of the mega caps. Only Apple up today going into the open. A little bounce in telecoms coming up. CVS, they're announcing something. Thought I saw something with drug prices. That's a little bounce off of there. So, but downward market still this morning. Let's just refresh this. I got to do this and then then this, refresh. All right, nothing positive. Utilities almost on the verge of positive. Consumer cyclical getting hit. Com services, real estate, healthcare. So everything heading down into the open today. Fed Watch tool still has a bunch of cuts. Remember, we have the meeting next Wednesday, not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday, and that's it until the end of January. So it's going to be really interesting to see that press conference next Wednesday because the market's really pricing in some serious Fed cuts. Fear and greed, still in greed mode, even with this pullback. All right, what have I missed? What have I missed? Anything important? Thank you again for putting in the news, sir. We had NIO earnings. AutoZone was a beat today, but it's a quiet. We're really winding down earnings after the close. It's Toll Brothers, Dave and Buster's, but nothing that's going to move the market. Stitch Fix. Tomorrow morning we got Campbell's. I'm a little interested in that from to see if they're still able to pass a bunch of price increases potentially along to the consumer and how their thoughts on inflation. So that's where we sit there, but nothing again market moving. All right. Speaking of the markets, let's get to that daily, the daily S&P. So you still have this double top. It's still against the rotation zone. If we did drop, I'd be focused on about 45.20, 45.19, 45.20 is the first target area. But the key thing to watch for is if we do close below 45, 44.75. Other than that, we are at a very key support area. So we are at a key support area getting oversold on the 4-hour with cycle bottoms at the 4-hour, and you see there's the buying pressure at the end of November at both the 28th and the 30th. We had this little dip down on Monday, and we're re-entering that area. So I'm going to be watching to see if we get a potential reversal signal there. Back to the daily. Cycles have rolled over on the daily and are headed down on the weekly. So we couldn't get much of a bounce. We went sideways a little bounce to set up this sloppy, remember, sideways sloppy double top. I'm just using it for target areas to watch for. And the bottom of the rotation zone if we do break that. Other than that, again, going into the open, it's watching for this key support area. If I get any reversal patterns, right around 45.50. But then if we slice through with momentum bars 45.44, and we have negative tick, and we get a pop in the VIX, I'll have to shift to more bearish mode. Nasdaq, we had the ugly double that didn't trigger for a couple days. Yesterday officially triggered, but essentially went to all three targets. Again, I was looking at these, as I said yesterday, as intraday targets. So we don't have a lot of support just yet. If we do slice through 15,708, I'm going to be really focused on 15,582. But anywhere between this 15,708 to 15,582 is a major reversal zone from the last little run-up starting on November 23rd. So the Friday after Thanksgiving to the highs on the 29th. That's going to be the key support area. And you also see over here, we have the prior resistance becoming support from that Friday resistance shelf Friday into Monday that then broke out on Tuesday the 14th. So that's going to be key area. I'm really focused on this 15,582 on a pullback. If we did drop below there, 15,457 and 15,332 will be the levels I'm using. On the upside, if we do find support, is this pulled back far enough yet? Ooh, 15,762. What's the lows? 15,761.25. We do. All right. Conservative side targets. Let's see what those are. So we get the close above 15,885.75. We get to 15,949, 15,950 area, 15,977, and then 1610. I'd really be looking at 16K as the final target should that trigger. So we do have a potential setup there on the NASDAQ. The S&P, which I did not look at close enough, we do have a potential setup also. So we could dip lower and validate this, but if we just rally into the open and get the close above 45.79.75, 45.92, 45.98, 46.04, being barely into the wicks, I'd be looking closer. Drop that down just a smidge, but we do have a couple potential bounce patterns into the open, but they are not triggered yet. What else? The Dow, very minor pullback so far. Key support I'm watching on the Dow is about 36,000. Any bounce area, any bounce in the Dow today, you don't have a double, but I'd be looking at about 36,250 and then the 36,325. The Russell closing above the 62.5. Okay. Got to shift the probabilities, but support coming in now at 1850 and then major support 1828. Next key target, I'd be using the 75 instead of the 87.5. This 1923 should it continue. Getting to the cycle tops on the daily and also weekly tops. So this I would not be aggressive. It would be aggressive trailing a stop, but not aggressive chasing this higher at this point. VIX, I'm keeping an eye to see this 1315 area. If we start dropping below that, I got to shift to choppy bullish. If we hold this level, especially if we start approaching 1370, choppy bearish, unless we get the momentum bars to the bear side. DAX still climbing. Remember, next target 16,525 area, and then 16,615. DAX continues to march up higher. End of the year, incredibly overbought. Now you might be asking if we're going to break out, where would the next targets be? This is where I'd use the reverse harmonics. 16,859, 17,1. What else do we have? I quit trading, but I'm still watching your... Well, thank you for continuing to watch. Thank you for continuing to watch. I see your comment on coin. We can take a look at coin. What else do we have? Notes. Again, cycles are starting to turn down from overbought areas. The major support is still about 109.29 to 109.27. If we do break above 110.27, we could reconnect with the 200 and the next harmonic area, roughly 111, 11 to 111.12. Other than that, there's no major bearish signal yet. We could be getting into this double top tear. Did this rise up yet enough? Yes, it did. So we do now have, correct there, we do have a potential double top. We do have a potential double top. There you go. So I will be keeping an eye on a close below 110.03 and a half. And that would be a close on the 4-hour basis below there. And that is into the rotation zone on the daily. So it is aggressive to the downside with the lower probabilities. Always have to point that out. Now in the yield, for all you micro yield traders, now this is going to be, because of this big hitch in there, it's still technically reversing this move, but the big hitch in there, especially with the first target being above the hitch and against the rotation zone, this is a lower probability. Also, we haven't not hit that 87.5 yet. So my advice is be careful with this one if you're going to try to grab this bottom. It would need a 4-hour close above 4.303. Now, we still have the probabilities that could favor, which would invalidate it down to 4.168 to hit that 87.5 rule. You got double negatives against this one. Double negatives. Hold on. So, just keep an eye on that one if you're trying to learn doubles. Nothing really on the 10 years. The 10-2s. Trying to roll over again, so the bear steepening has stalled out. Dollar index finding some key resistance here. Remember, we still had the percent B buy and the follow through from last Thursday. Running out of momentum with daily cycles getting to top, so I'm watching for a little short-term topping pattern, which we might have right here. Dollar index closed below 103.15. Could pull back to 102.85 area into some pretty significant support. So I'll be watching that with stalling out into the first push in the rotation zone and then possibly setting up a stronger bottoming pattern, especially with daily and weekly cycles at the top. So I don't have time to read that advice, but I thank you for chiming in to help dark screen sleep. Thank you, everybody. Trading is very, very challenging, and there's no rush to learn it. There's no rush. The markets will be here. Crude, I pulled off this horribly sloppy double for the time being. I'm still seeing if we can get to the final push lower in here to complete. We had the head and shoulders pattern coming down to the second target. We're also getting a 1, 2, 3, 4 corrective 5 wave down, and this could be the final push lower, but there's no major significant bottoming pattern just yet. So keeping an eye on crude, but not a great setup just yet. Gold. By the way, gold, we do have a potential 4-hour double bottom. Now, that's just a minor bounce. After this is a, let me get back to there. I am using the single bar harmonics. We've talked about that before. The key area to watch for based off the single bar harmonics is a close back above 2109 if you're looking for a resumptive move above there. Okay? 2109. Now, the little potential reversal here, which is not confirmed or triggered yet, would be a close on the 4-hour basis above 59.6, and then that would only take us both to the 37.5 harmonic from the single bars and to the final targets up there, which would roughly be about 2081. Before that's 2075.5 and 2070. So then it would need continued follow through to really get something going. This was remember, we're at cycle tops on the weekly. We've been on a multi-week run higher. So would not be surprised to see a continued pullback, but I'm keeping an eye on this little bounce play. If we do, we filled the gap. If we do break down, again, my key area is about 2024 to 2029. And then below that would be back to 2000. So what else do we have? Not much going on in the yen. No, I'm still watching for a more significant pullback pattern. We're holding right at the weekly rotation zone, but then I'm going to see how strong it is on the secondary reaction. There's nothing yet there. Euro, keeping an eye here. We're trying to get a little support against the 200, and we have a little. This is the day of potential double bottoms, remember. None of them might trigger, but you do have a potential double in the euro. 4-hour close above 108.47, 108.86.9, 108.80, and 108.91. Again, we don't have the first cross rotation zone, so you could that easily bounce could see you taking down to the prior breakdown area. You had the support coming, you had resistance at the middle of November, right around this 108.85, testing and support right around Thanksgiving in the USA. Then it finally broke, so that would be key resistance on any bounce. The pound. Still keeping an eye to see if we close below 126. For the pullback to potentially the 200. The spiders, really just keeping an eye. I'm watching more for if that double triggers on the futures, but if we start breaking below about 453.25, 453.25, we'll be looking to about 450.40, 450.35, and then 448.70. To the upside, we're trading 454.70 going in the open. 455.60 would be the first target I would utilize. That is yesterday's open. It's also key opening area from the last trading day in November and the low area from December's 1st. So that's going to be very key in that area. And then it would be the gap fill close to 456.69, and then your major resistance is 459.36. I'll get back to natural gas in a second. The Qs finished. This would have been traded intraday because it finally closed at all the targets. Finally closed below here after hitting all the targets. So the key support area is roughly this 383, and then below that, remember, you still have a gap down. You still have a major gap down. Now, the targets before the gap, I'd be looking at 378.51, and then the gap fill to 377.21. But it's got to really get through about 282.50 with momentum before I'd start targeting stuff to the downside. To the upside, it would be the gap fill to the opening / closing area from yesterday, 386.09 to 386.32. And now significant resistance coming in right about 387.75. Then beyond that, you still have a gap fill to 389.94. A natural gas. Natty gas. There's not a strong pattern just yet. There was the break above in the short term, this 273 area with the gap fill. That is about it. There's not a strong bottoming pattern yet. Now, if it does close, the aggressive bottoming pattern right now, if it closes above yesterday's high at 275.2, then it is a percent B buy into the rotation zone only. So you have to be really nimble with that because the rotation zone is right here. That's the only very aggressive buy pattern. So really pay attention to yesterday's high. Tesla, still not anything's changed. Break below 232, gap fill, target 200. Break above 240. You know, it's about 245, then about 249 to 250. Other than that, nada. Nada. All right. NVIDIA is approaching that 50% level, this 448, 449 area. So going to be watching to see if we can stabilize there in the short term for a bounce and then another rollover play potentially. I'm still in the camp that we're not going to make it all the way through. People are counting a little too much on that Santa Claus rally. But I'm going to be watching when we do get this bounce in the markets, see how strong that is. Coin. Thank you, Sterling. Let me get back to the daily here first. Coin after triggering the monthly double. Let me just get back here. Monthly. This is the double you're looking at. Yeah, that is triggered. That is triggered. 154.04, 172.90, 191.77. So that's where that sits right now. What would invalidate that? You always got to know your invalidation point. It would still be 63.50. I wouldn't keep a stop that far away personally on this pattern. I mean, if it starts really breaking back below about 115, I'd be very cautious. If you were ratcheting up the stop early, it would be worst case 74, 76 area. All right. With that, I've got to run into the open. I hope everyone has a fantastic trading day. Let's just peek in at the S&P again. Let's just peek in. We still have the little potential bounce pattern. Nothing's been invalidated, but if we do really push down, you know, below this 45, 46 level, then watch out if we don't get support there. I agree with you. I think people open presents just in November. I think they opened all their presents. I don't even think they got wrapped their presents. I just think they went and bought them and opened them. Good luck, everyone. Thank you, Legion. Everyone have a wonderful trading day, and I shall talk to everyone tomorrow. Bye for now.